Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Project Purpose Podcast. This is your weekly guide to clarity, courage, and purposeful living. And I am your host, Sheryll. And today's episode will be very relaxed. Today, we're actually talking about a review of podcasting. This is actually my fourth month doing podcasting. And so I thought that I'll do a little review of what it's been like so far. And it's also a Q&A session. I've received a few questions from my subscribers. And, as opposed to answering them one by one, I thought that I will do an episode that is just a Q&A session as well. So let's dive into the questions first. And then after that, I will share with you my take on the whole podcasting, the good, the bad, and the in between. Let's get started. All right, guys. So the first question that I have is, how did you know podcasting was the right platform for your message? Well, I truly didn't know that. I just decided to use it. It's very similar to any other platform, such as YouTube or, face-to-face workshops, public speaking. I believe I had something to say. And so even though I was very shy in the beginning, I decided to move forward anyway, based on my experiences on being a content creator. I'm already online. I thought it would be a good fit to share what it is that I have to say. So it's not necessarily that I seek out podcasting and is saying that that's the only channel that you can use. I just believe it's something that is new. It's very popular. A lot of people actually love to listen to messages as opposed to just watching it. And so I thought, why not? What were the biggest fears or doubts you had before launching? And this is a good one. If you watch the podcast, or if you haven't yet, go back to the very first episode. I believe it's titled Being Shy But Showing Up Anyway. I was very nervous, right? Very afraid to start. So I had to get over the doubts, and what are the doubts? It's just you talking to yourself, right? It's those self-doubt. What are people going to say? How will they judge me? Will I make a lot of mistakes? Will I learn the platform? Will I have any success? And the way that I got over those fears, of course, there's still some of them, but the majority of them, to get over it, is the message that I've always said, which is just to start, right? You're still going to feel fear, but the more you do the action is the less bold those fears are. How much did it cost you to start your podcast? It really was not a lot. Because it depends on what you already have. For example, this laptop that I am using, I already had it, right? So you didn't have to necessarily go out and buy a new laptop. And it's highly recommended compared to just using your phone. Can you use your phone? Yes. But there's so much more tools that are available when you're using the laptop, which is very similar to a desktop. The only difference is that you can take your laptop around with you, right? So I did purchase this mic here that you are seeing. It's actually it's called the Yeti Blue. It's a really nice mic, and I did my research, and it was one of those that was recommended. So I did went a little bit with the mic. I believe I spent about $105 for this mic, and it's really nice. It's very sturdy. It's got the controls, you can bring the volume up or down. And what I liked about it is that it's The type of mic that if you have multiple guests in around, for example, around the table, um, you can still just use the one mic. You put it in the middle, and there's a setting that you put on there, and it actually will pick up everyone, as opposed to each person having to have their own mic. That's one of the reasons why I got it. I also got these beautiful headphones. For those that are listening, I know you're not seeing it, but these headphones are, I forgot the brand of it. I got them on Amazon, and I think they were about $50. So that was good. Now, keep in mind, with your podcasting, you also will need to have a host. That's just somewhere that you will have access to, your admin panel, and you'll be able to put in your descriptions, create your website, and just, manage your podcast. So I use Buzzsprout is what they're called, and they're very user friendly. And I believe right now I am paying $18 per month for their service, which is very minimal. They have other pricing. That one works for me. And I also use Audacity. It's an app that does the recording, and it's actually free. So you can do Audacity or, any other recording software. And then when it comes to editing, I actually outsource, and I still outsource. That's actually one of my biggest areas of opportunity right now, is to learn editing. It's not a walkover. So I'll let you know when I'm successful at that. But for now, I just outsource the editing. How do you come up with new content every week? Ooh, this is a good one. So, I believe, well, the way that I do it, I have my mission statement always. And, I understand what my niche is and what it is that I want to accomplish, right? So I know what my objectives are. And so therefore I research, right? I look for topics that are relevant to my niche. Now, an example of that is the podcast is all about, the ambitious person seeking to find clarity, to find purpose, to create a fulfilled life based on their terms. And so that includes things like self-love, self-care, mindfulness, mental health. So an example of this is that I just completed a whole series on, mental health awareness, because the month of May, which today is actually the very end of May, but the whole month of May was mental health awareness. So something like that I will jump on, right? And I know that it's relevant. People are, talking about it. I would select topics around it. But just in general, to find content, I will just seek out, my niche. What are some struggles? What are some concerns? And I would create topics and content around that. Do you need fancy equipment or a big team? No, you don't. As I mentioned, you would simply just get those equipment that I just mentioned. You don't need a lot. You need a headphone. You need a good mic. You need your hosting platform. You need your recording platform. And you also would need to pay for outsourcing, right? If you're not yet skilled in editing. I should also mention that I am currently using StreamYard, which is really nice. They do have a free version, and the StreamYard actually allow you to record both audio and video. And you can also go live on StreamYard. So it's pretty cool. I'm liking it, and I'm thinking that I might be using this more and more. What keeps you motivated when you're not sure anyone's listening? Well, I believe that I have something to say, and I want to say it. And I have faith that it will reach the right audience. I seek to do my best to bring value. I put myself together. Then I make sure that I have my equipment, as I mentioned. I make sure that I have good internet service, good lighting for the most part. So I do my best to bring quality to the podcast. I also do research the topic, or if I have a guest, I make sure that I have them prepared to bring quality as well. And that's my focus. And so I believe as I continue to bring quality, that it will reach the right audience, and that people will find it. And based on feedback so far, it's been good, and I really am enjoying it. Now, will people always support you? Surprisingly, no. And that's just life. Most of us often wait until we see results before we support. You know, Unconsciously, many of us don't want to spend the time doing the work, so to speak, or holding your hands when you're doing the work, or being there encouraging you and supporting you. They'll wait until there's evidence of success before they support you, and you just have to be aware of that, and take it for what it is. Now, of course, you also want to make sure that you are doing that which you want. So one of the things that I'm learning to do is, more than ever, I always believe that I'm the kind of person that will show support, but more than ever, becoming more intentional, especially if it's a small content creator. I try to do my best when their information come across my feed to support, right? To leave that comment, to like it, to follow it, because that we understand that it all works by algorithm, and the more you support is the more the information will go out to a wider audience, and eventually, it will take speed and become successful. So I stay motivated by knowing that I'm providing good value and that I'm doing my best. I try to give 100% every time. Now, there have been times when I'm like, 94, 97. I'm committing to myself never to go under 90%. But for the most part, I seek to give 100%. And I know that the universe will, return the favor. And so far, I want to share a few of my stats with you. As I mentioned, we've just completed 4 months. So far, we are just a little bit under 1,500 downloads. So we're at 1,400 and something downloads as of yesterday. I haven't checked my stats yet for today. Some of the most popular apps that we're on include Podcast Index, that's an app, Podbean, and also Spotify. And then what I love that we are, the different countries that people are actually finding the podcast right now is amazing. Of course, I'm in the US, so naturally, that's where my biggest audience is, right? Is in the United States. And I do a lot of work also with my sister that lives in Jamaica. She's a psychologist. So Jamaica is also another big country that supports the podcast. But believe it or not, I do have subscribers from France, Austria, United Kingdom, Germany, and believe it or not, I have one subscriber from Finland. I hope he or she is listening to this. And if you are, I want to let you know that I see you and I appreciate you. I think this is so cool. So shout out to everyone that is subscribing and following the podcast, but a big shout out to my one friend from Finland. Remember to share it with others in Finland, right? Okay. All right, moving on. How do you balance podcasting with everything else you're doing? You have to set schedules. So you have to create a calendar, you have to make a plan, and you have to follow the plan. That's pretty much the easiest way. that you would find balance. Otherwise, you won't be consistent and eventually you become overwhelmed, right? And you want to continue to make it fun and exciting, and you still want to be able to do the other things that matters to you. um, Forget it if you work a full-time job. My hat goes off to those people that really do full-time jobs and still plus have kids and plus do a podcast. It's a lot of work behind the scene running a podcast, and I'll talk about that a little bit further into the episode here. But you cannot do it without having a schedule, right? Now, are you always going to be on target? No. But for the most part, you will, right? Let's just say, for example, you schedule to record every Wednesdays. You want to make sure that's what you do on Wednesdays, along with whatever else you do on Wednesdays, right? But should you miss a Wednesday, you don't forget doing your podcast, right? You pick up the next day. It could be the Thursday, the Friday. You keep going and you do your best to get back on schedule for the next episodes, right? Now, these questions, I believe, were pertaining to like growth regarding the podcast. So they say, they ask, have you seen real results as yet, such as followers or sales? So the last part, sales, there's no sales. The podcast is very new. And right now, I'm actually not focusing on monetizing it, though I do have that in mind. And I have set up the podcast with that in mind. But for right now, I've only received one sponsor so far, and that was, a family member. So I'm not seeing any sales as yet. I just mentioned the followers that we have. To be quite honest with you, I'm not really sure, because there are different podcast platforms, right? There's not just Spotify or Apple Podcasts. There's so many, which I did not know that they were. Never heard of these apps before. You will have different people that prefer different apps. For example, as I mentioned, Podbean is new to me, but apparently people love it. And people actually listen to their podcast from that app. So I do have a few followers over there, and also on Podcast Index, it's called. And I've got a few followers on there as well. So not much results as yet that is mind blowing, but we're making progress. What's your favorite episode so far? Well, I enjoy all the episodes, but I want to say the one that I did with my sister, Dawn Smith, is from the love. It's from the self-care series, and it's called "How to Silence Self-Doubt." It's actually episode 15. And I love that episode because I believe that I'm actually living it, right? I'm doing my best not just to talk to you and to tell you what to do. I'm making sure that I am doing it as well. And, there are days when it's a struggle, but I'm doing my best to move forward in silencing self doubt, right? Pushing through the fear, pushing through the discomfort, pushing through the doubts, and doing that which I say that I would do. So that would actually be my favorite episode. What's something surprising you have learned about yourself? Hmm. Well, I would say that I am enjoying the process of learning more and also learning new habits. For example, now that I'm getting more comfortable doing recordings such as this, I find myself also wanting to do more, lives, more Q&A. And believe it or not, we've already done a live, which I'm very proud of, and I'm looking forward to doing many more. And I also went live just recently on TikTok. And when I'm done here, I'm also going on TikTok as well to do a live. And side note, if you want to follow me on TikTok, actually, I'll put the handle in the show notes, but it's called Vegas Life and Rentals. Vegas Life and Rentals. That is my handle on TikTok. Follow me over there. We're going live more often. But yeah, that's what I'm learning about myself, that I want to do more. I want to keep pushing through the doubts and become more confident and become a better person, a better version of myself. Anything a guest said that changed your perspective? This is another good one, and I did write this down. And yes, um, so the episode that I did with my good friend, Officer Farr Shelley, we did an episode entitled "Abandoned at Birth to Six-Figure CEO," and I believe that's episode 20. I love the perspective that she shared, that she don't take lightly that you have a choice, that she had a choice, right? And I love that. We all have choices. Believe it or not, though, some of us more than some, right? Some of us are truly at a good place in life for a long time. And there are some of us that are just still constantly in a survival mode. And the people that are in a survival mode don't really have much choices. And sometimes they make decisions based on their situations. However, I love the fact that she said those of us that have choices should not take it for granted, right? And should really act on it. So for example, if you can be a better person, if you can become more, if you can, seek out to be, a higher education or get promoted at your career, start new skills, right? You have those choices, go after them. So that was one. I also love this upcoming episode. It's getting ready to be released this weekend. It's episode 22, and it's entitled Why Men Suffer in Silence, with my good friend, psychotherapist, Mr. Antonio Dawson. I love the fact that he said that mental health conversation is an everyday conversation. And again, because we were focusing on mental health awareness, um, the key idea is not to stop there, right? Is to normalize the conversation around mental health and to continue to create safe space where people can share, especially men, can be open and feel safe in seeking out mental wellness. So I love the fact that that conversation, right? Mental health awareness, um, self care should be an everyday conversation. And then finally, I love the series with my sister, who is also a psychologist, Dawn Smith. She talked about um, in the self care series, and it's a few episodes that we did. She said that kids spell love Time. And what that simply means is she emphasized how important it is for us to understand that childhood trauma is real and how they shape the adults we become, and some of the most fundamental things that parents and all of us, right, teachers, all of us can give to kids is not just the material things, but is to spend time with them, is to nurture them, is to care for them. And that's the way they see love, by us being present, being there for them, and caring for them. So I hope that answers your question there. Then it says, what advice would you give to someone that wants to start a podcast but is scared? Like myself, I would say just start. Just do it. Understand that if you truly believe that you have something to say, then there's never truly a right time. And the sooner you start is the more confident you will become, the more knowledgeable you will get, and the more the world will hear what you have to say. So just do it. Do you need a huge audience to make podcasting worth it? I don't think so. But if you never start, you'll never have an audience. So again, I would say go for it. The answer to that is no, right? There's, what is it, 8 billion people worldwide. People are all over the world. The cool thing about podcasts is that podcasting is also all over the world. So sometimes we get caught up thinking that, it's just going to be my friends and families, no one else will ever see it or know of it. But if you have a message to share, you continue to just honing on your skills the more you do the thing. So go for it, and continue to seek out new skills such as marketing skills, people person skill, learn how to delegate, right? Time management skills. Surprisingly enough, you're also learning to become better at those skills, but you will just go for it, and eventually you will find your audience. I'm looking for mine. I believe we'll find each other very soon. What would you do differently if you were starting over? The only thing I would do differently is to start sooner. And I cannot emphasize this enough. There's a lot of people that are jumping on podcasts right now. Podcasting can lead to many more opportunities. Right now, I am predominantly the host of my podcast, but I'm looking forward to being a guest. And, as you become a guest on other podcasts, you are putting yourself out there, and other people are getting to know you. You're tapping into a whole new audience. And, once you do your research, which, as I mentioned in the beginning, I did, right? You research what it is you want to talk about. You research the equipment that you want to use, and you know that you have the time to commit, right? Because it's work. Then you just go for it. So the only thing that I would do differently is just to start sooner. Was there ever a moment you thought about quitting? No, not yet, because it's pretty new. So far, I'm still riding high, maybe in the future, but right now, no, I haven't thought about quitting. Now, have I slowed down somewhat? Every now and again, yes. Every now and again, you relax a little bit too much. And I believe that there has been a time since my 4 months period, I've missed 1 week that I did not record. And it really was not a good excuse. You just fall behind. So I have fallen behind, but I've never thought about quitting. How has this podcast helped you heal or grow personally? Great question. The growing part is huge. As I mentioned, I did not realize that I was so shy. And, you know, I believe I mentioned this before, but not just podcasting, whether it's just to create more space for yourself online, right? Content creating, public speaking, workshops, face to face. It is all about getting out of your comfort zone, and it can be scary, but you push through. And when you do your research, you become more knowledgeable and you gain more confident. So I believe that that has helped me to grow and is still growing. I still have a long way to go. Believe it or not, I'm still shy, but at least I'm doing it, right? I'm doing it. I believe I'm getting better. And as I mentioned before, it's creating additional good habits, because now I want to go live. I'm going live on TikTok. I'm looking forward to becoming guest on other people's podcast and, being able to answer the questions that they have. So it's a whole new world, and I am loving it. So those are the questions that we have. I believe I've covered all of the questions. Now I want to talk a little bit about my personal view on being a podcaster and starting a podcast. Guys, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I don't want to, you know, scare anyone off, but I want you to do your research, is what I would say, and make sure that you can commit to the time frame that is required, right? It's ongoing. Right now we are on the 22nd episode, and I just get so blown away when I would see on social media where people are saying that they're on their 100th episode, right? Their 500th episode. And I'm like, oh my God, when will I ever get there? Right? But how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, um, that's one of my takeaway, that even though I did my research, I still did not realize that it would be this much time consuming. Keep in mind that you have to record like I'm doing right now. Then you have to send this information out to your editor, right? If you don't know how to edit. If you know how to edit, kudos to you. But even when you do know how to edit, editing takes time. So you have to do that as well. You have to create what's called your artwork, right? That's your pretty picture that you put on the front of your episode. You have to create the descriptions for it. When you get your edited version back, you still have to upload that to make it go live, right? You have to create your show notes, your tags. You have to put in your resources and your mentions. So there's a whole lot of work on the back end before you actually go live. Now, if you also do a video version, which I do, you then also have to create your thumbnail for YouTube. You have to upload it to YouTube. You have to create another description, or you sometimes could use the same description that you use on your podcast for YouTube, but you also have to create it and upload it to YouTube, right? Then you have to start marketing. And so you have to promote it on all the different platforms. And it's a lot of work. That's why before you start the podcast, make sure that you research the topic that you'll be talking about. Make sure that it's relevant and that there will always be information that you will have readily available to talk about. And make sure that you are passionate about it, that you will continue to do it when you promote an episode that is, you thought for sure it's going to be a great episode, and you only have 50 downloads for like the whole week, right? Because on average you really should be getting, I believe, I want to say about 30 downloads per day. That's actually a good episode, right? So maybe that's actually great. So I want to say maybe the average is about anywhere between 10 and 15 downloads per day. So therefore, when you go to like a whole week and you only see like 50 total, it can be discouraging, which means that you just have to promote it more and more, right? Or maybe that was not a good topic, and you just have to look at your analytics and adjust, right? What else would I say? Don't expect families and friends alone to support you. So this is where marketing comes in. Don't be shy to network online. And I would get on all platforms. Right now, I'm on everything. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I should be more on Instagram. Instagram is still an area of opportunity for me. It's has always been one of my weakest channel to grow, even my personal account. So I'm aware that I need to put more time into it, but I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and again, like I said, I'm on Instagram. I do a lot of Instagram stories, and then the World Wide Web. So, a tip that I can share with you, if you already have a website, I would start creating blog posts, and I would create the blog post summarizing each topic and put that on your blog as well. Because remember that your blog, especially if it's being hosted, well, regardless of who your host is, whether it's WordPress, um, Hostinger, or any one of them, keep in mind that your blog is also on the World Wide Web. So as long as you create a good SEO strategy, right, you make sure that you're using impactful and relevant keywords to reach, Google search, then people all over the world will find your podcast. And I believe that's one of the things that I am currently tapping into right now. Like I said, I'm in all these other countries and I don't have family members there. So how are they finding me? It's because I'm promoting the podcast, and people will see either the podcast itself and click on it because the title is relevant, or they will be searching for something in Google and your blog post popped up. Then of course in the blog post you would include your links back to your podcast, and people will find you that way. So that's definitely a tip out I shared that is actually working for me. The good. I love it. Like I said, it's making me grow, right? I'm becoming more confident in front of a mic, being on the camera, being in front of the camera, sharing information, doing my research, making sure that I'm bringing you quality content is definitely something that I take very seriously. And so it's pushing me to become more. And so because of that, I love it. Um, the only bad that I can say is that it is time consuming. And so you want to make sure that you have the time set aside to continue to do this for the long run. And so that's the information that I really wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for your questions, everyone. And, let's really connect. Again, the whole idea is not just to talk, right? I really and truly want you to take action. My hope is that, you your biggest takeaway is that you become better. You seek out to do more and to challenge yourself to do more than you're doing right now, not necessarily for others, but for yourself, right? Become the best version of yourself. And my hope is that this podcast, right, the topics, being able to help you find clarity, being able to help you become more courageous, being able to help you understand how important, mindfulness is, self-care is, will make you take action. And it will move out onto other people as well, right? It will affect, I guess is the word I was looking for. It will affect those around you, right? When you become a better person to yourself, first and foremost, then you're also becoming a better spouse. You're becoming a better parent. You're becoming a better coworker, a better boss, a better business owner, a better coach, a better client, a better consultant, a better neighbor, a better friend, a better sister, brother, cousin, aunt, niece. And the list goes on and on. And we are touching our community. And soon the whole community is becoming better. So thank you for listening and for joining us here with this Q&A and review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, right? Follow us on social media. Our tagline is Project Purpose Podcast, and DM us with any additional questions that you have. And until next time, bye for now.